Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Real Cheese Project live, beaming to you from number 2 Pound Street in Wendover this evening. We've got London calling from Oussama. Oussama, welcome. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you all.
Tonight? Good,
thanks. Yourself?
I'm great. Good. You're Malik's honey, of course. Where are you in London tonight, fella?
So I'm in Fulham.
In Fulham?
Yep.
Is it called Farm now? Farm? Like Alan's Farm? Farm?
Still
Very
Fulham.
good. And Katherine Dart, MW, where are you calling us from tonight?
Usual spot, Maidenhead.
Lovely old Maidenhead. Lovely jubbly. Katherine Dart, Master of Wine, joining us, talking about wine. And our guest star this evening is Blake Bowden, all the way from, where are you tonight, mate?
I'm in Norwich.
From Norwich, and you're in Norwich this evening?
Yeah, that's where I live.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Cheese Crowd and welcome to our newbies tonight. We've got a few new members this evening. Really nice to have you with us. So this is what we do. We talk about cheese, we talk about wine, we talk about condiments, and we have a really, really good time. It's a learning experience for me. Every single time I do this, I learn a lot about the condiments. I learn a lot about wine. And importantly, I learn so much about the cheese. Please excuse the telephone in the background. I am in my shop this evening. So I think the first thing we're going to do this evening, we're going to get you to get your tasting cards out. And I'm going to, have you got your tasting cards in front of you there, Blake?
I do, yeah.
You've got yours there. So Katherine, like we did last time, I'd like you to lead with the tasting card, if you wouldn't mind. Sorry to put you on the spot like this.
Thank you. I don't think it was me that led last time, but I can. So
okay. So basically, you're going to shout out what's on the back, and we're going to look at the cheese. Okay, so before we ask you some questions, Blake, we're going to taste the cheese with you, which is slightly nerve-wracking. And I know that the cheese would probably like to eat some cheese right now as well, as I do. So here is the cheese. Let's have a quick look at it. So the first question on your form is on the back.
It's rind. So is there no rind? Is it a natural or dry rind? Is it a white mold, an other mold, a washed rind, a leaf, sort of organic, or an inorganic like a wax?
Okay, so I'm holding up the rind to the camera there. I'm seeing a rind that has got a beautiful microflora on it. It's got some grey mold on there as well, a little bit of orange under the surface there as well, which I'm guessing is from the wash. Blake, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, we wash it. We just give it one wash.
Fantastic. So then on the outside, I'm guessing that's what's been engendered over time, which is probably a little bit of mucor, grey mold that you'd associate with Saint Nectaire.
Correct. That's it.
That's it. Fantastic. So when I look at this rind, if I'm assessing this as a cheese judge, world cheese judge, British cheese judge, whatever, I'm assessing the rind for the quality and any imperfections. On this rind, I don't see any imperfections at all. I see a beautiful covering of the mold. I see some little crevices. It's a little bit rocky. That's just natural with this cheese as well. And I think the rind looks perfect. So when you describe this rind on your piece of paper, it's going to be other mold. Yeah, natural rind, other mold. Okay. What's the second part of that, Katherine?
The next that we've got is the paste. So is it even, crumbly, moussey, crystally, holy, bluing, or with cracks?
Okay. So let's hold up should we all hold up? Have we all got cheese left? Oussama, did you eat all the cheese?
Okay.
We both got a bit left.
Blake, you've got no excuse, mate. You should have loads of it.
Always got cheese on it.
So everybody out there watching this, hold this cheese up to your computers. We can't see it, but just do it for fun. So we're looking at the paste. And the reason why we're looking at the paste is we want to see if it is even, is it holy, has it got a halo, like a creamy edge? This, for me, is pretty even, isn't it? It's a pretty even paste. There's a couple of holes, which will be from gas, I guess, Blake, would you say? A little bit of gas in there?
I would say that these, what we would call these mechanical holes. So these are holes that would come from when we're ladling the cheese, when we're putting the cheese in the molds and starting to press it.
So they won't be propionic. They are definitely just make holes.
Yeah, I would say that if they were, when you get gassy holes, from my experience, is that they'd be a little bit rounder where you can see, I mean, at least on my piece of cheese here, they're a little bit, they're kind of not evenly shaped. So, yeah, I'd say that they're mechanical holes.
That makes sense. So mechanical holes are just part of the make there. So this is a very firm and even paste. Perfect. So give that a good score. What's the next one on the list there, Catherine?
Now moving on to aroma. So does it not have an aroma? Is it milky or floral, vegetal or fungal, intense, or is there a note of ammonia?
On the rind, I'm picking up not much ammonia at all. Do you pick up any ammonia on there, Blake?
No, I'd be very surprised. I don't very rarely get ammonia on St Helena.
I'm getting this sounds a bit weird, a bit stony. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, stony and vegetable. Yeah.
I think I said pebbly in my little video.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's kind of quite cavey.
Cavey, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I'd probably go with vegetal and fungal by going on what we've got on the cards here. That's what I would say.
Let's go vegetable fungal.
So I've got a fun word that my son taught me the other day, which would probably apply to this, which is called petrichor, which means earthy, pleasant smell or scent produced after rain falls on dry soil.
Ah,
Fantastic.
Exactly where we're going.
You'll be delighted that I used it.
Cheese Club. We did this the other night, ladies and gentlemen, cheeses out there. We did a little video. So if you go onto the Real Cheese Project Instagram, see the video that we did, and I said pebbly, but that was the word I was looking for.
Well, petrichor, yeah.
Really lovely. What a lovely word. We need to add that to the Academy of Cheese tasting notes, tasting card. Okay, cool.
I think we're going to have to change our website.
Yeah.
Yeah. The paste on this, the center, I'm talking about this little bit here, is giving me some really lovely buttery notes. I've got a slightly oniony note there as well, like a caramelized oniony note.
Yeah.
Is anybody else picking that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to write that down as we've seen it. It's going to be beautifully earthy. What was that word again?
Petrichor.
Petrichor, and kind of slightly caramelized, oniony, buttery on the paste. Not overly oniony, but just gently in the background there. Okay, cool. So what's the next on the agenda there,
So now
Catherine?
we've got two elements of taste. We've got simple flavors and then complex flavors. So the first simple flavors are sweet or savory, acid, salt, or bitter.
Okay, This is where we have the fun bit, ladies and gentlemen. We get to eat the cheese. Blake, over to you.
So I would probably with this batch, and when the cheese starts to when it's nicely matured like this, I kind of go more with salt and savory on this. When the cheese is younger, it can be really sweet and sometimes a little just bit like light sour cream. But this is more. I'd say I'm going more on the savory and salty side of things here.
Fantastic. And Catherine, any you can add to that? I think I'm on that page, definitely.
I'm definitely on that page. There's still a lovely sweetness to it on the finish because it's got that sort of caramelized quality to it. But yeah, predominantly savory and salty. Delicious.
Yeah.
Mr. Azzam?
One thing I'd say as well is that sorry, Oussama.
No worries. I concur. Go on, babe.
One thing I'd say as well is that doesn't mean to say that other people wouldn't be tasting something completely different because, we individually salt our cheeses. They're not, all of the cheeses are made and salted by hand. So, we try to keep things consistent, but each cheese will vary just ever so slightly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Every cheese day, every cheese make day is a vintage day in the cheese world. Everything's going to be different. Okay, so what's our next one on there? So we've got savoury on that lineup.
So we're going on to the complex flavours, and we've got dairy, vegetal or herbaceous, fruity or floral. Then there's animal, fungal, fermented, and then mineral, chemical.
Again, Blake, I'm going to leave it over to you.
Okay, well, I think I'm getting quite. For me, it's very mineral, quite mineral forward for me. I'd probably say it's going across the. It's quite mineral. You get a nice. The rind brings that kind of fungal element to it, but then I think the flavour itself is very is very vegetal. So that's across the kind of very savoury across the savoury spectrum, really.
Yeah, I'm definitely going vegetal for sure for me. Yeah, Oussama, what do you think?
To me, it's very dairy.
Yeah, there's a real creaminess to it as well.
Yeah, it's soft.
Yeah,
yeah, it's really. You have to say quite dairy for me. It melts.
Dairy.
So there is a question here that links with what Oussama said then as well. So Sandy Bredin has asked. She said the cheese rind is also velvety to touch. How do you achieve such a soft feel? So that's for Blake really to answer.
Yeah. So that just comes down to maturation. So we have to kind of each different batch of cheese we will assess when's the right time to be turning it, to be washing the cheese, because to get a nice mold, a nice rind like this, we need to have a succession of different molds kind of migrate onto the rind of the cheese at different times of its maturation, so that it will be balanced and then and stable. And then once we've got that, then the grey mold will take over. And that is characteristic of St Helena, but also the cheese it was inspired by, which is St Nectaire. So in other cheeses, you'd look at that grey mold and it'd be an imperfection, but for us, we are actively encouraging it. So that's why I only wash a little bit, and yeah, that's why using raw milk is ideal.
Fantastic. It's brilliant. There's some lovely stuff coming back on comments. We've got Brett Sachs, who's also a cheesemaker at Slow Grown Farm down in Petworth. Makes some really beautiful cheese down there as well. If you haven't come across him, Blake, he's a great cheesemaker, but also he's written for the Cheese Crowd, written inside this month's edition of Cheese Crowd, and it's the first writing. So every month he's going to be writing about his farm. Earthy. I think it is earthy. It's beautiful. That rind's amazing. Lee Porter has said delicious. Thanks, Lee. And we've got the lovely Ian Keeling. Excuse me. We've got a very strong dairy, buttery and creamy. Absolutely delicious. Very very interesting. Catherine, what's your next thing on the list there?
Well, now we're down to length and complexity. So they run from 1 to 5. So obviously low length and complexity is 1 and high is 5. I can still taste it now, and I deliberately restrained myself from eating any for the past few minutes.
I've just had 2 really big pieces very quickly after one another, and I want to go back for more.
Yeah, but I decided to see how long, because it's definitely, the finish is long on it. It's got, I can still taste it now, and it's that creamy butteriness that's lingering with just a hint of that vegetal stoniness.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of a cultured butter as well. I get that kind of really good, kind of sharp cultured butter note in there as well.
Yeah.
This is a crazy cheese.
Raw milk? Would that be part of the raw milk? Would that sort of cultured butter element come from the raw milk that it's made with?
Yeah, I think that the cultured butter, I've not really mentioned the texture yet, and I think the texture really, that really, I guess, squidgy or, fudgy texture, that will kind of make you think that, it will it's quite suggestive. The texture is quite suggestible to buttery flavors. And
Yeah.
I think
By
as
looking
well,
at it as
because the cheese is not an acidic cheese. It's never particularly acidic through any point of its life. You know, it's allowed to keep that. You know, it doesn't get too sour, so it does feel really nice and buttery. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So long on the palate. It's got lots going on. It's got a very cool rind, which is it's got a beautiful journey of that rind. I think for the cheese crowd, I think it's really important to also say, let's just I don't know if I can do it. I've got a new widget on my platform here. I'm going to put this out. Let's see what you can say. Hit that button now. Would you eat the rind? We'll let that cook there for a second and see if we get if this actually works. It's a new thing, so whoa, look at that, 100%. There's what two. There we go. Whoa, it works. Thank God for that. Thank you. Oh, 3, 4. Oh, numbers are kicking off. That's great.
How did you do that? That's very clever.
You just type 1 or 2 in the chat, I think.
Oh, wow.
In HQ here, we've got millions of people. We've got cheese mites working around the clock, pressing buttons. We couldn't do it without the cheese mites. Well, thank you very much. So it looks like 100% people will want to eat the rind, which is really, really good.
Warms my heart.
A lot of people don't eat the rind; they avoid it. So I think that's a really good question to have out there. Good. I think that's. And we've got YouTube as well. We won't be able to see what's happening on YouTube, but that's 9 people on live stream. We've got more than 9 on the live stream on StreamYard watching that. So that's really cool. Okay. So Blake, thank you very much, Catherine, for holding that up for me, for doing the questions. Blake, thanks for your description. I think we've got a well and truly incredibly brilliant cheese here. Very, very well made.
Thank you.
Blake Bowden, St Helena is clearly milk-led. What does today's milk allow you to do, and what does it force you to respect?
I think, well, it forces us to respect the season. I think that's kind of one of the main things that we work with. And when I say that, it's not just the seasons of the year. It's what's happening to the cows, whether they're lactating, what stage of lactation they're at. What is the grass like outside? Are they inside in the winter? So we just have to, every day that we make cheese, we are very considerate of what's happening out there. It's just not a matter of getting a vat of milk and kind of doing same each time. Every time we're really, really thinking deeply about what we're doing. So you have to be very respectful just of the raw product and where it's at in its journey of the seasonality. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you work with minimal intervention. Where is the line between guiding the cheese and letting it go too far?
I think for us it is. I think for us it is about making decisions in the development of the cheese. Is a really important place, because when you're buying cultures, you can basically make your cheese taste like however you'd like it to taste. There's all different kinds of things that you could add to the cheese. If you fancy making it taste of hazelnut, you could do that. Or so it's for us the kind of cutting back to the absolute minimum, nice. so that we can just allow the milk to express itself. So we add just enough culture so that we get the right structure of the cheese. and then we make it to maintain that. And
then
we just
happens. Yeah, and that segues quite nicely. Sorry, Blake, go on.
No, you're right. I was just saying, then we just allow it to do its thing.
Yeah, that segues nicely into the rind, because the rind is obviously mucor dominant and quite delicate. What are the critical decisions in the first, let's say, 2 weeks that defines the success or failure of that cheese or the rind?
On the rind, a lot of it. The most critical time for us is when we're in the make room making the cheese and ladling the cheese. We just need to make sure we get the right drainage on the cheese. The drainage is like most cheeses. Drainage is absolutely paramount. If we get it out, then if we don't get it quite right, then you can have kind of some rogue things happening. Or even just it might become more dominated by the washed rind kind of situation might be more dominant, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's very important on the day of making that we're always very focused on what we're doing to get that right. And if we get it right, then generally things will go along quite swimmingly.
Fantastic. In a nutshell, just if you can, in a nutshell, it's a bit of a question. We're asking you lots of, I think you pointed out just before we went live tonight that there's a lot of proper cheese questions here. Well, this is what this platform's all about. It's about learning about real cheese. And I think I think one question that if I was in the audience now, and also for me right now to learn from, why do you have to get the drainage right? What happens if you don't? What would that do to the cheese? In two scenarios, if I got not enough drainage, then the cheese would acidify. The cheese would acidify too far. It would become more acidic than what I want, and I wouldn't get my beautiful texture. That would lead to the cheese lead to the cheese drying out, and then so then you'd lose a load of flavour. And the rind may not take on quite as well, and basically the same thing would happen if I get too much drainage or we don't treat the curd with enough respect while we're ladling it, and the curd can become tight. Then the same thing can happen. We can get tight cheese that it doesn't have the same flavour come through. So for us, the main thing is getting that drainage right is to have our correct texture, because the texture, if we have the right texture, then everything else kind of goes along nicely. So for me, I'm always adjusting my make with the texture being the kind of absolute key ingredient. Yeah, and key to the success of that cheese. I mean, it's consistently brilliant, the texture on St Helena, so you work really hard to make that happen. Seasonality obviously plays a huge role in raw milk. When the raw milk shifts, whether be that the butter fat or early lactation, how do you adapt without losing the identity of St Helena? I guess a bit like Carlsberg, isn't it? You want to make something the same, but you don't in raw milk, so that's probably wrong of me to say that, but you want something that's consistent and recognizable, don't you? And in order to, and you want to be able to show that seasonality at the same time. How do you do that?
Well, I mean, it comes back to the previous question. That will be managed mainly down to how much we cut and stir the curd. So in the winter time, we might cut the curd a little bit smaller and stir it a little bit more, because when you have fat milk that's higher in fat, it is a little bit more difficult to get the same the way to drain from the curd. And so basically that, and I might adjust, I'll tinker with my starter culture, how much of that I put in. But again, it comes, as you're saying, it's minimal intervention. So You know, the mates are only adjusted on very small things like that. Just to adjust, just to get to our target, really minor.
It's funny, we had a similar conversation with Joe Schneider the other day. We had 9.5 milliliters of culture that he was using, and they were arguing about 0.5 because of the way the milk was acting, the acidity we was working on that day, which is fascinating. And that we're talking about 2,000 liters of milk.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Crazy,
I mean, when you're making it day in, day out, you become, you know that these very, very small things make a big difference.
Well, they do say small things make a big difference in real life as well, and it's a real life in cheese, that's for sure. Thank you so much, Brad. Blake. Thank you very, very, very much for that. That was great. We'll come back to you. Stay with us. We're going to now go to. It's your time, Oussama. We're going to talk to Oussama about Malik's honey. Oussama, lovely to have you with us. Your wildflower runny honey brings softness and lift. What defines this honey? What defines the flora, the season, etc., that makes this honey so well? How do you do this?
Yeah, so in particular, so we've got different seasons when you're speaking about honey. So you either have like a spring honey or a summer honey generally. Some people can get an autumn honey like our heather, and maybe there's only one probably wintry honey, which in the UK would be ivy honey. So the one you're trying now is normally in summer. The bees will forage on mostly wildflowers, but there's a massive field of rape tea flowers. So when you go past the countryside anywhere in the UK, you normally see a massive field of yellow flowers. So they'll be foraging on that, forage on lime trees as well. I think a bit of buckthorn. And bluebell, I think, as well. So just whatever flora is really there. And it just gives it such a nice taste. It's so floral, it's light, it's soft, it's super versatile as well, which I really like with it. And yes, one of our most popular ones as well.
Okay. With a cheese like St Helena, that's rich and lactic, what are you looking for in a pairing, and why does this honey work so well in your opinion?
I think, like Blake was saying, I think it is pretty savory, so I think it's nice to have that sweet added to it, but I don't think it's overpoweringly sweet, so you still get all the flavors from the cheese, and it just kind of smooths it over. And the texture as well goes really well because they're both really soft, really velvety textured almost. So it's just ultra luxurious. When I try it together, it works really, really well.
Okay, whilst I've got you where you are, you can't go anywhere.
I'm here.
Let's ask a question about honey. There's been a lot of news about honey over the last, I don't know, Catherine, maybe 10 years, perhaps.
Probably.
Where we've been talking about what
the quality of it.
The lies that we've been fed from the supermarkets, that really escapes the reality of what real honey is.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what the difference is, and tell us very quickly, because I'm conscious of time for everybody.
Yeah,
but tell us very quickly about what they've been selling us, what lie they've been selling us, and what defines good honey.
Yep. So essentially, we've been buying, and I've been a victim of it as well, especially when I was young growing up. You just buy honey from the supermarket. You don't really know any different. Majority of honey in the supermarkets is imported from China, and bulked with sugar syrups. A lot of it's heated as well. And when it's heated above a certain temperature, honey, all the enzymes will die. The reason it's heated is to keep it on shelf life for longer because honey will crystallize. So that's part of the reason why. And it's just really damaging to the UK economy, to British beekeepers as well, and ultimately to the bees, who without them would lose 30% of our food. So when the beekeepers aren't doing well or aren't able to profit off raw honey, off good quality honey, then it has a massive impact on the global market because it affects the bees. So that's what we really wanted to do. We really wanted to combat it and try and just be a beacon for real beekeepers who actually really care for what they do, really care about the bees, and spend 20, 30 years, 40 years perfecting beekeeping, because it's not easy to do, for sure. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of heat. And yeah, you're looking after livestock in the end of the day. So it's definitely very challenging.
Well, listen, thank you very much for that. I think it's really important. And it's, as you just saw Ian Keeling, I'll put it back on there. He just said honey back. We love
Thanks,
it. Genuinely, we love to have you on the show, Oussama, and your honey is stunning. It's really stunning, and it works really well with this cheese, which then segues nicely to Katherine. Thanks, Oussama. Katherine, the Salto Sangiovese sits alongside this pairing, which I was quite worried about. What are the key structural elements in the wine that actually make it work incredibly well with the cheese and the honey?
Well, firstly, with a cheese like this, as Blake said, it's not a cheese that's highly acidic. So to bring some balance into the whole equation, I wanted to choose a wine that had nice acidity, but at the same time, I didn't want a wine that was going to be overpowering or too weighty or too tannic. Now, Sangiovese can have a lot of tannins, but it's also very high in acidity. And when it's made in a lighter style like this, which is deliberately made to be fruity and accessible with lovely sort of cherry flavors, it's going to provide a perfect foil to the nature of the cheese. So there's always a herbal vegetal element that sits underneath Sangiovese's fruit character as well, which complements the cheese. So you've got an element of contrast and complementing. And because Oussama's honey isn't, it sounds bizarre to say, not crazy sweet. Yeah. It's more about nuance and subtlety. I mean, both of us were a bit worried because taking a dry red wine and a honey and thinking, are they going to work? But when you take the honey with the cheese and the wine, it comes together perfectly and you get sort of these layers of flavor and it isn't jarring at all. And I think that's partly Sangiovese's character because it is quite a brilliant grape, I think. You know, it is probably one of the greatest grapes in Italy. But at the same time, it has been made this wine in the style. I wouldn't take, you know, a Chianti Classico Reserva possibly and have it with this combination, although it could surprise us. You want something that's going to sort of have a lightness and a freshness and a juiciness with a fresh acidity that will lift everything and just provide a little bit of contrast and a bit of complement as well to the whole flavor combination.
Perfect. Now, there's a balance.
I was going to say, if you didn't have a Sangiovese, a good quality Beaujolais or a young Pinot Noir would work really nicely as well, either from the New World or from France for the Pinot.
Yeah, I can imagine a young.
Yeah, I think if you were having Saint Nectaire, you would have it with the Beaujolais, yeah.
And maybe slightly chilled?
Yes, which was our happy accident. It's nice not chilled. But James and I had a bottle that I'd taken just from the cellar where I store, which is an old chalk mine. And it was still a little bit chilled and it was a fantastic combination. So on a sunny day like this, what could be better?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Now, there's a balance here between acidity, the tanning and the sweetness across the trio. How does the wine tie those elements together on the palate? Come on, tell us all the technical stuff here, please.
I think it's a crazy alchemy, James, if I'm honest with you. But I do think that when you have acidity, it carries things through. So hopefully the people who are tasting it with the wine will find that both the flavor of the honey and the flavor of the cheese continues even longer when you drink it with the wine. The main purpose of it in a way, and I probably said this before, is that it's palate cleansing. So the tannins of the wine bond with the fat and the protein in the cheese, so they don't dry your mouth out, so you want to have more wine, but the clarity that the wine brings to the equation makes you want to go back and eat more because it keeps your brain and your palate interested. So it has a palate cleansing quality, so you can keep moving back between what you're eating and what you're enjoying and not get bored and just eat more cheese. But it is a crazy alchemy because some things just don't work, other things work brilliantly, and sometimes things completely surprise you and they work amazingly. So it is a bit like blending. When you blend wines, alchemy seems to come into play in the medieval sense of the word. It's a magic. It is a little bit of magic, and it's good to have a bit of magic sometimes.
It certainly is. Well, what a lovely tasting we've had this evening. We've got some lovely questions that are coming in as well. I think quite an interesting one, which we should put up as well, and I think we possibly can all answer this. I can certainly give this a bash as well, which is from Neil Cutland. Would you call rapeseed wildflower?
Not really.
Very interesting.
No, I wouldn't, because normally they're purposely planted. So wildflowers tend to be ones that just grow naturally in a natural area. But if to name our honey rapeseed would need over like 60% of pollen from rapeseed, where it's not that. So then we have to kind of class it as wildflower. So no, I wouldn't say rapeseed is wildflower. I would say it's more of the other stuff as well.
Yeah, and it makes you think about rapeseed as well. I don't want to bang this too hard home, but a lot of rapeseed being made. It's a very quick crop to grow as well, and it's a necessity for certain farmers in order to bring in income. But in the reality of it is what is rapeseed oil, etc., etc. Let's not go there too much. But what's that doing to our land? What's that doing to our landscape at the same time? Apart from having big blasts of yellow every time of year, which is quite beautiful to see. What else does it actually bring to the to the soil? Okay, let's just hide that one for a minute. We couldn't place. This is quite nice as well. Sandy said we couldn't place the underlying flavour in the honey. And she said the rapeseed, which was more dominant, which was quite amazing because it is unique when you can mention it, you could see the rapeseed in there as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, even the coloration as well. So when we do taste it with rapeseed honeys, like comparatively, they are very similar in coloration as well. So there's definitely some rapeseed pollen in there for sure.
Yeah. Here's a question for Blake. So was Blake's visit to San Nectar region specifically about learning about cheeses, or did he just stumble across the markets?
Well, I was in the region. I was in the region for a mate's wedding, we went up to. We just kind of happened to go through the St Nectar region, and we were staying up there before the wedding. I went to the markets and found the market stall with the longest lineup, where people were buying literally like 4 or 5 wheels of it at a time. It was definitely some impressive cheese buying. So I just went in there and I bought a wheel myself, and I got to say, it really did change my life in terms of I wasn't a cheesemaker at that point, but once I became a cheesemaker, that was something that really stuck with me. And then I was just lucky enough to have an opportunity to be able to develop a cheese, and it wasn't easy, but kind of we got there in the end. Yeah.
Perfect. And quick question from me: why is it called St Helena?
Yeah, there's another question from Dion that's along.
Yeah.
Let's find that. Where's that? Before we do that.
So I grew up on St Helena.
She said, does the name have any connection to the island?
No. No. It might do, but not for my story. I grew up on St Helena Road in Bangalore, northern New South Wales in Australia. So it was a beautiful. Yeah, I grew up on a beautiful road that you'd look out to the Pacific Ocean, and from kind of countryside, and an absolutely wonderful part of the world. And when I started working with Julie, she was already making St Jude, and so when we were naming my cheese, it was a no-brainer.
Call it St Helena, and it reminds you of home every time you make it.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's a nice memory.
So thank you so much, everybody. Catherine, do you have any comments or words for Blake about his cheese this evening? What did you think of it?
Well, I think it's stunning. It's one of I just adore the texture. It's the thing that brings me joy. Yeah, and I think, and with the honey, it is magical. And I'm very glad to have Oussama back with his honey because, as Sandy said, it is the bee's knees.
It is. Honey is the bee's knees. Well done, Sandy. Look at that. Honey is the bee's knees. What was I going to say? If you, ladies and gentlemen, Cheese Crowd, do remember you do have an area which is a members area, and it's out live now. And why not? I can stick it out live quickly. If you go TRCP, big capital, big T, big R, big C, big P, 2026. You can get into the members area, and guess what? You get discounts on Oussama's honey, and you get discounts on Katherine Dart's wine as well from Grape and Nectar. So do check that out. That's really good. And you get discounts at a really cool deli in Wendover called Number 2 Pound Street as well, 10% off there as well. So do press those buttons, and on those discounts, of course, that would include Blake Bowden's incredible St Helena. If you're getting a cheese box as well, that would be included with the discount. It's been real. It's been the Real Cheese Project this evening. There's been some really good conversation. Interesting to hear about the honey. Interesting to hear about the raw milk tonight for me as well, and how that affects, how the drainage affects the make, how you're so gentle with your milk, how you're so gentle with the curds, etc., and how wonderful it is to have a Sangiovese wine this evening with a cheese that we were quite slightly nervous about, but seeing this beautiful trilogy come together, the honey, the cheese, and the wine, it's quite perfect. And I know that some of you got the lovely butter shortbreads this evening as well. I know, Oussama, you did eat them before the show very quickly, and you admitted that to me yesterday. Those butter shortbreads, the butter goes with the beautiful dairy notes of this cheese as well. And I think the combination this evening has been pretty much spot on. Cheese Crowd, if you've got any ideas, you want anything else to hear on Cheese FM or Cheese TV, do let me know. And if there's any other particular cheeses you want, let me know as well. I'm going to let the spoiler alert, we're going to be having bocconcini mozzarella next month. Ooh. Bocconcini mozzarella coming from Somerset, which is going to be beautiful. And I've got a very, very interesting pairing on that one. Goodness knows what you're going to think of that one, but it's pretty out there. And that's coming from Somerset. And it's a raw milk bocconcini mozzarella as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let my guests hopefully stay on. I'm going to switch off I'm going to end the stream to the public now, to our Cheese Crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, all remains for me to say, my guest, Blake Bowden, thank you very much. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
My other guest, Oussama Azzam, big round of applause.
Thank you.
Katherine Dart, we love you. Thank you so much. Big round of applause. And to you, the Cheese Crowd, we love you. Massive round of applause. And as I always say, my sign off is, may the cheese be with you all.